Hello and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Angelo Santabarbara. Today we have Mr. Louis R. Lupi. He is president of the 8th Air Force Veterans Group, and he's also a World War II veteran. And we have him here on our show today to tell us a little bit about himself and his experiences overseas. Lou, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to have you. Maybe we could start off and you can tell us a little bit about your background and your history. I understand you grew up in the town of Rotterdam, like myself.
Went to school at John Bixby, and then after that to Draper High. I left in my third year to go in the military. I was called to duty in 1944. After I received my basic training and then my advanced training, I went to Europe and shipped out of Boston, and that was quite an experience, taking the northern route to the North Sea, and we encountered tremendous stormy weather. It was so bad that you had to hang on, and we lost 3 men because they went on aboard deck and there was so much ice there that they slipped off and we couldn't find them. The darkness started our 4th day out there on the seas, and we went to Normandy and landed at Omaha Beach, which took us 9 days because a lot of the ships were sunk in the area, and it took us time to get to the Omaha Beach.
So you shipped out of Boston to go over to France.
Right.
And where was your, now I was in the, I went to basic training in Fort Leonard Wood. Where was your basic training at that time?
Texas.
Texas, okay.
Yep.
And how long did you spend there?
9 months.
9 months of basic training.
Mm-hmm.
And now the journey, so the journey from Boston, you said it's about 9 days to get from Boston to France. And when you landed, what was it like? Was it, obviously you had never been there before?
No.
So what were you feeling at that point?
Well, the weather was bad, and we disembarked, which was rough getting to shore. And then once we got to shore, we were welcomed by our comrades and our officers, and we proceeded in a rough manner from France going to Germany. And the transportation was all types when we could get to them. Tracks were bombed out, of course, and we went by truck and rail and so forth into to our posts.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
then we were given orders there.
And how long did you spend in overseas?
Was almost a year.
Almost a year, and then you were able to come back.
Yep.
And what are some of the, are there any experiences you can share with us while you were there?
In Europe?
Yes.
Well, because of my injuries, I could have came home or to another attachment, but what happened was my commander said, because of your injuries that you received in the conflict, that you won't be able to be called for frontline duty in case we're called to go to South Pacific or somewhere else. So because you speak not only Italian, but you speak German, so you can have the job of working with the Nazi prisoners of war in the distribution to settle the Geneva Convention. This meant that I was assigned to the shipment to France, to Marseille, France. And we had 285 to aboard the 40 and 8s, which was difficulty there because of the fact that the rumor that they had received that once we got them to Marseille, France, they would be shot on sight. And of course, we tried to convince them that was not true. And but consequently, it was difficult to get them aboard, and so the fighting to board these ships was, I even got hit by one of the guards with the M1 rifles and knocked out a couple of my teeth here. Oh. That's how bad it was. And then once we got going, and there again, it took us 8.5 days from the middle of Germany to go to Marseille, France, due to the fact that the tracks are bombed out, and it took time to get the tracks moving. And even though then these stops might be 2 hours, might be a half a day, might be 1 day until they were repaired, and consequently the prisoners were routing and trying to get out, and some of them did try to escape, of course had to be shot, otherwise we'd be court-martialed. And the weather was very bad, cold, of course, as you know, it was the worst winters in 1944 and 45 in Europe. And we ran out of food, and this was a problem also because we didn't have much for the prisoners of war, or not even for ourselves. Finally, we did make contact when we were at one of the points where our supplies were coming through, and things were slow because the war just got over, and many of the people were going home, many of the soldiers were going home, and this was slow in getting our supplies and so forth. So we got to Marseille, France, and we didn't stay there long, the 10 guards that we had, and we went back to our base there in Germany, and that was quite an experience.
And the now the languages, I speak a little Italian myself.
Capite, sì.
I learned it from my parents. Now you learned the Italian while you were there?
No. I learned Italian when I was 10, 12 years old.
Oh, okay.
My great-grandfather came here in 1890, our families, and so he insisted in his broken English, you must learn the language where we all come from. And I said, but gee, great-grandfather, I said, you know, I don't see any use to it. I mean, my mother and father speak English. My mother even graduated high school, and she wrote, and they spoke both languages quite well. Well, he says, you someday might need this, you know, and so it did come about. Although I didn't have it very well spoken through the years, but it did come back to me when I came back from serving my country. In German, I learned it while I was in the military. And
so you learned to speak German while you were...
Yeah, in my training.
Okay, while you're in your training, okay. Mm-hmm. And you still speak those languages
Yes,
today?
I'm losing it because
okay.
I don't know many German people, and but my Italian is still good.
Okay, well that's good. It's always good to know more than one language.
Yep.
And I learned it from my parents growing up.
True.
And
grandfather and grandmother came here in 1900.
Okay. Yeah. And right to the town of Rotterdam, or?
Well, no, I lived in the city of Schenectady.
In the city of Schenectady.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yep.
And then later on?
Yeah, great-grandfather was in Amsterdam.
Amsterdam, okay.
Yep.
Okay, great.
He worked on the carpet mills. He, I used to visit him, my mother and I, and my dad, and sometimes when he can get away from work. He could walk until he was 108, but then he got pneumonia and he died at 110, which I was at his burial. In those days, there was a home type of funeral.
Right.
And then we carried him to the church with I was one of the barriers, even though I was...
I see.
Called Paul barriers.
So you described your experience on the ship going from Boston to France. 9 days, you said? 9 days it took?
To get into the beach, to the Omaha beach.
Tell us a little more. What do you remember about that trip?
Well, I was assigned for the food, which is, I assume, I'm not a Navy man, is the gallery.
Okay.
So my officer said, my top officer says, I want you to be in charge. And when I was aboard it, and he said, we might hit some rough seas because we're going further north. We didn't have any escorts. We were a single ship going out there and to France. So I was in charge at the galleys, and but it got so bad that a lot of them were very ill. But he gave me instructions because of the rough seas we might incur. He said, I want you to eat as much as you can, because I gave orders to the Navy cook here that no matter what you want and when you want it, he'll make it for you, including a steak. I said, well, thank you. He says, because that's one way I figured that. And I was only, even though it was such a bad storm, because I did listen to my commander, I was only sick for about, felt seasick for maybe an hour or two.
Now, how old were you at the time?
Just 18.
18.
Well, yeah, just 18. Yep.
Okay. And so the rough waters, and you said there was darkness for quite a bit of time.
Yeah, it started on the 4th day, and we didn't get any daylight until we landed at Omaha Beach, the Harvey area.
And temperatures?
Well, the ice it was so cold up there going. So, in other words, the naval personnel aboard the ship, I said, gee, I don't see many of you Navy guys here, and because we're having a rough time, you know.
Yeah.
And we locked the hatches, of course, and so no one would go out on deck with their vomiting and so forth. He says, well, look, sir, he says, I've been in the Navy for 15 years, and this is one of the worst storms I've encountered. He said, so that was a surprise to me, and because I didn't even see the captain or get to meet him. And we finally landed there. But some of them got injured even inside our ship because they wouldn't hang on, or they were so ill with their seasickness.
Right.
They hit their head on the wall, and you couldn't even sleep, even because you were thrown out of the hammocks and so forth. It was so
Right,
bad.
right.
Not in all the part. And the vibration was tremendous aboard ship because the waves were so high. Some of them said maybe 50 feet because the engines would come out of the water and vibrate so tremendously. It was quite an experience. It was unusual for us young guys to experience that kind of weather.
And finally, when you did make it, you were assigned to your post, and I understand there was one incident where you did have transportation. There was an accident. Maybe you could,
Oh, yes.
if you could talk about that.
The duty while I was overseas also after the war, we, 4 of us went into one of our military vehicles to search the DP camps. And of course they were, as we went through them, we had no identifications, no officers. We just had our OD uniforms, and we went through the DP camps looking for the Nazi criminals that our government was looking for. And it was a pathetic situation going through those camps because a lot of them were from the concentration camps, and they were cleaned up, but the skins and bones. And it was amazing because we walked through the halls or the areas of those internments. It was so quiet. They would just look at us, and some would back away from those railings. It was enclosed, and but that was amazing an experience. And they wouldn't speak. It was so quiet. We showed no arms. We carried no arms, although we had our weapons carrier and other military outside in case there was a problem of some sort. But that was quite an experience.
And so you spent. So you said you spent a year there, and you were able to come back. And when you came back, did you have to go back? You came served at home, or did you go back to Rotterdam, or did you end up having to go back to Texas?
No, I got my honorable discharge.
Okay.
And I wanted to go and finish my education.
Okay.
And the interesting part there was the fact that since I left the high school, I didn't, on my discharge, it said you only had 3 years, you did not receive your high school diploma. But on my last page of my discharge, it said received your diploma while in the military, and that was while I was in the hospital, almost 3 months in a military hospital with my leg and back injuries. And the WWII that was in charge, she was a school teacher, and she joined the military, and she said, while you're laid up in the hospital in this condition, I'm going to get all the books and you're going to study and take your exams, and I'm going to send them back home. And which I did, and I passed all the 5 subjects. And so in my last page it says, did receive them.
Oh, that's great.
My diploma while in the military. And then from then on I went to college, and I applied at Columbia University, and spent 4 years there. then from there I went on to Parsons School of Design and majored in advertising.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And you now you did recover from your injuries, or are you still?
Yes, well, it was quite a experience. Busted leg and so forth, and back injury. I recuperated fairly well, but I had to have the braces on and so forth. Still do occasionally. Well, they're what I mean by occasionally, because they keep changing my braces. I have a problem sleeping at night because if I move it, the pain is so severe. So they gave me these other type for night, like it's called wraparound. During the day, we're the normal type.
And the and your injuries obviously are from
My service.
your
Yeah,
service there.
the last injury I had was when we were going at high speed at the Autobahn to one of the prison camp, DP camps, and we were blown up off the Autobahn. And of course, I was lucky to be blown out of it, and the military vehicle went off the bank there, so I didn't really roll down the bank. There were 4 of us, but there was a weapons carrier and another vehicle that was following us and picked us up. I only remember a lot of smoke and noise and the vehicle rising up, and next time we got to the hospital to be checked out, and then I went on to my base.
So that so
we didn't know what happened.
You didn't know what did something hit the vehicle?
Yeah, we didn't know. At least I was never told. So
right.
It was a landmine, or maybe off the shoulder, or somebody was.
Yeah.
Because they were still active. You know, even the war was over, small towns and villages, there was still a problem. I mean, the ones that were physically able, the Germans would get together and try to, any of the wandering military men are gone, because we even had, they would attack them. And we did have one case. We also had, I was in charge of one of the USOs that was done by the German people and ours to supply them with things also. And I know that I had to close the clubs that we had, and the one fellow went back, and he was beat up by the German people.
There was still hostility, going on. Yeah.
Yeah. He was a little bit inebriated, but he didn't defend himself, and he was in bad shape. Yeah, so there was still a lot of problems in that after the war. And
being in the vehicle once it was hit, you were inside, so you couldn't see. You couldn't see what was happening outside.
No. It was interesting.
Well, we're glad to have you back home, and we certainly thank you for your service. I know you have an interesting picture here.
That's one of my tags. Yeah.
That you talked about earlier.
My IDs.
Now this is a picture in front of a.
Oh yeah, that's at our bases in Kaufmann, in Germany, and that's the. I was working on the P-47, and the Air Force photographer came by and he wanted to take my picture, and I said no, I needed my brush cut, but I haven't been able, because our barber's dead. I haven't been able to locate anybody here, and that's for at least 5 weeks growth there. And
so you were in need of a haircut in this picture.
Yeah, that's yeah. And I said I got to be in my uniform. He did come back and take it, but it was later in the day. But he took that anyway, not knowing that he did take.
And this was in France?
Yes. No. This is in Germany.
In Germany.
1945, Germany.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I see on your ID here, the next thing we'll talk about, and we mentioned it earlier, you are the president of the 8th Air Force Veterans Group.
8th Air Force Historical Society, right. And
okay.
There are 3 divisions, or whatever you want to call in New York State. We have the Southern Tier, which is Staten Island and New York and Long Island. And then the one I'm in president of is the Central or Greater New York area, and then we have the western one, which is from Syracuse to Buffalo.
Okay, and that's and I did attend a few of your meetings actually, and to learn a little bit more about the group.
Yep.
What does the membership consist of?
You mean Well, all of well, because you know, I go to a lot of burials and funerals and wakes because we're losing a lot of our members of World War II, and sure. Makes the vacancies in a lot of our positions when we having younger people there are able to join us military, because we're taking members to take our duties, and because right now I'm not only the president but the secretary and treasurer, because I haven't had enough people
to fill the vacancies.
Over. Yeah, until I get somebody appointed to it.
And it's obviously, as the name indicates, it's a veterans group. And you do have to be a veteran to obtain membership?
Yes, basically yes.
And how, if our audience at home would like to learn a little more, is there someplace they can reach, contact, or is it online, or?
Yeah, we meet at the 109 Air Base, and it's usually the third Saturday of each month. We meet at the security office.
Okay.
And there's room there for at least 12 people to have that meeting, because we used to have the larger hall, but since we're diminished and we only have 20 members that are active.
Okay. Okay, so if someone wanted to attend, they could certainly come and inquire.
Yeah, I can give my phone number if they want to.
Sure. Why don't we give out that number? And I think is it
355-3419. You can call me anytime on that phone, and if I'm not there, leave a message. And you can call me anytime between 7 a.m. till midnight.
Okay. Well, that's quite a few hours there. So that's a 518 area code 355-3419. That's Louis Lupi, president of 8th Air Force Historical Society, and your meetings are at the 109th Air Base.
Correct.
Okay, and if anybody wants to volunteer or just learn a little more.
We appreciate to have members, any age, any service.
Yeah. And the group itself, what are some of the are there activities you're involved with, some of the things you stand for?
Well, we have it on the Saturday afternoon, so a lot of the younger members are involved in with their families and so forth. So we changed that for the older veterans that didn't drive at night, and but we seem to diminish in that manner. So we don't have too many attending the meetings on the Saturday afternoon. We used to have our banquets and so forth, but because of there are not so many active members, we have only the meetings, and we do have some get-togethers, and we usually a lot of us meet in our annual have our annual get-together at the Aeroscience Museum.
Okay, and yeah, I see that in the Aeroscience. You are a member of actually three museums.
Yes, I am I'm a member of the Saratoga Museum.
Okay.
It's the and also the Air Force Museum, which I heard they're going to have my name on when they finish their building, and also the Army. I'm on that, and I'm also on the monument, of course, in Rotterdam, that I posed for, and the stars.
And I have seen
the
that
brass
one.
star is on the sidewalk.
Yes.
We're leading up to to our monument in Rotterdam.
Yes, very nice.
Which I'm very proud that I was selected as a model on the one column, and Lady Marine on the opposite column.
That's very nice. Yeah, and I have seen that star.
Yeah, the bronze stars for our veterans.
Very nice, very nice. And you're also a member of the VFW. And
Veterans of Foreign War. I'm a trustee, and also I'm on the board of the. I'm on the board of the Disabled American Veterans.
Disabled American Veterans.
And trustees of the other.
And of course, the group. You're also involved with AMVETS as well, so that's quite a few.
Yeah, AMVETS, the last one.
Yep, and
All-American.
Our new post in Rotterdam that we're happy
Number
to have.
35.
Yes, we're happy to have you be a part of that.
Okay, I am too.
to have your service. And again, we're going to give out that number, 518-355-3419.
Correct.
If you're looking to get involved with a good group of veterans, help out, volunteer, or maybe learn a little more, feel free to give a call or stop by. Those meetings again, Saturdays?
Saturday afternoons,
Okay.
2 to 4.
2 to 4, Saturday afternoon at the 109th Air Force Base.
Usually it's the third. We'll send out a schedule, whoever's interested.
Okay, great, great. I appreciate
And my
it.
uniform is 68 years old.
Okay, that's great to see.
And the RID is 68 years old, which is solid silver.
Now, this is the uniform you've had all the way through, is it?
Yeah, our dress uniform, yeah.
Well,
Of course, I have all other clothes.
Yeah.
Airport, landing field, and
Right.
flight suits, and all kinds of military uniforms.
Well, we appreciate you being here today and sharing some of your experiences. Sometimes these things are tough to talk about. We appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah.
And we certainly appreciate your service to the country.
Yeah.
We're happy to have you back home. And you do live in the town of Rotterdam, and I know
Correct.
I see you around town all the time.
Quite busy with our organizations. And if I don't have a good day or my leg is bothering me, they pick me up and bring me here.
Well, I'm happy that you're still involved with the community, and
Yes,
we
I
do
mean,
see
a
you.
lot of organizations. Yes.
We do see you at the parades and the veterans.
Yeah, they take me in the
holidays.
car, and it's
Yeah.
nice. Yeah.
We look forward to seeing you there this year.
Great.
I want to thank you for being here.
Yeah, there are some experiences I'd rather not go into because I don't want any flashbacks, you know.
Right.
But I've overcome that quite a bit, and
Yeah.
so that's just a general part there.
Well, we appreciate you sharing what you did. I know it's tough to talk about them sometimes.
Yeah, because I had some personal attacks from not only from the enemy, but from some of our rehabilitations of our own workers, you know, military
Yeah.
crew or something, and that was
Yeah.
a tremendous experience.
Well, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you
Okay.
sharing what you did with us, and maybe we'll have you back
Yep.
at some point later in the year.
Okay, I appreciate it very much.
Thanks again. Join us next time, and we'll have a new guest, and we'll look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you.